Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast, where today I'm going to be joined by Dave Donatelli, a distinguished leader in the tech sector from a company called Riverbed. Because as businesses navigate the complexities of the modern tech environment, we're going to explore some of the key issues at the forefront of executive conversations. And I'm talking everything from the increasing importance of AI in strategic decision-making to the top priorities for CIOs. And Dave brings with him a wealth of experience and insight. So we'll also examine the critical role of unified observability and what role that plays in overcoming IT challenges to ensure those exceptional digital experiences that we all expect as standard now. And Dave's also going to share a few exciting updates on the Riverbed platform, a groundbreaking solution that is leveraging AI and full-fidelity data to eliminate visibility blind spots and enhance user experiences across every touch point. And at the end of today's episode, I am going to be asking you to answer, how can your organisation harness the innovations that we're talking about today to thrive in this ever-evolving digital landscape? Are you or your business thinking about launching a podcast in 2025? Well, let me help you turn that thought into action with 3 tailored options. Option 1, all you need is 30 minutes or an hour to record an episode, and I'll take care of everything else. Yeah, me, your host. For $2,000, I will edit, publish 12 episodes, ensure your podcast goes live on all those major platforms from Spotify to Apple Podcasts and beyond. And I'll be there to support you on your podcast journey throughout. So if you or your business are interested in getting a podcast live and you want to work directly with me, visit my website, techblogwriter.co.uk, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or also please send me a DM on any social platform such as LinkedIn, X or Instagram. I'm just at Neil C. Hughes on every single platform. But option 2, if you want a full service experience, check out aipodcast.ing. They offer additional services from website management to promotional support. And if you use the code Neil C. Hughes, they will give you 25% off your first month. And they can handle all the heavy lifting while you focus on your content. Finally, option 3, if you want to do it yourself, Libsyn, the podcast host where I host this podcast, they're offering up to 2 months of free hosting if you use the promo code TBW when you sign up. So, for example, if you register on November the 1st, you'll get the most out of the offer and you won't actually have to pay anything till January the 1st, 2025. The choice is ultimately yours, but I'm just here to ensure you start 2025 with the fully published podcast with a season of 12 episodes. Let's get started today. So, buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to the US, where Dave is waiting to join us today. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Dave. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
I'm Dave Donatelli. I'm CEO of Riverbed Technologies. I've been the CEO for a little bit over a year. Prior to that, I've worked in the industry for many decades. I was president of EMC. I ran what is now called Hewlett Packard Enterprise, and I ran the cloud business group at Oracle.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast, and you've probably seen so many different changes throughout your career, and we are, as the pace of technological change continues to ramp up right now. Everyone's obsessed with AI, etc. But of course, we've come across so many different changes from the arrival of the internet to mobile and so much more. So I've got to ask, right here, right now, how are you at Riverbed innovating within the realm of AI and automation to address some of those visibility challenges in digital user experiences, particularly in new environments such as remote working and public clouds? Because there's so many big changes happening right now, isn't there?
There really is. And I think that's what makes our industry so much fun to work in over the years. I'm one of the people who actually started my career pre-commercial internet. So, the internet had obviously been around, but really commercial internet didn't start to the mid-1990s. And clearly there was a before internet and an after internet. And as we know, the internet changed everything, right? Really changed the way the whole world works. And now we're yet, as you mentioned, another one of these inflection points, AI. Yeah. And, I think AI is still in very early stages. It holds great promise. One of the great things about Riverbed is that we've been working on AI for some time. Riverbed's been in business more than 20 years. We've been big innovators. And that innovation has carried us forward to where AI is today. And what I like to say about, what we're doing in AI is we're into our second generation of products. So we actually have for our space products that have, work. They're installed in large customers. They do active things, which I think is so important for a new technology, is showing that you can actually change the way customers work and help their environment. I'll give you an example. We're working with a very large manufacturer. And in their particular case, they thought they were getting 2,000 alerts a day of problems. And the issue with that is most of those alerts were false positives. So eventually they just had problem. What really mattered, what didn't matter, wasn't really helpful. And by applying one of our AI technologies, they were able to reduce that amount by 86% and then get to the 14% of real problems that really mattered. The other thing was ironic about that is they thought they were getting 2,000 problems a day. Once they were able to clear away all the debris, they were getting 2,000 per hour. Whoa. And they were just so inundated that they couldn't see them. So it's a case where, technology ultimately helps. In this case, AI and machine learning help them, the technologies we have. And it's really all about delivering a better, what we call end user experience. Whether it's your customer or whether it's people who work at your organization, people want to be able to show up and log in, get their job done in a very efficient manner. And that gets more challenging to do every day. If you think about it, we were talking about the changes. 5 years ago, not that many people work from home. Now people work from everywhere. The coffee shop, their house, they're accessing corporate applications, they're accessing the cloud. And if you're an IT person who has to deliver that experience to someone, that gets more challenging. It was a lot easier when I first started. I showed up, I had a desktop, it was wired. I could go down and look at this thing in the fishbowl, in essence, the data center where I was hooked up to. If anything happened, it was really a problem between my desk and that data center, which was a floor below me. And now, you have, again, people all over the world trying to connect in at any given time to a whole host of on-prem or cloud applications, and making sure that experience is good across all of them is really the challenge that most customers face today.
100%. And you mentioned a great point there. 5 years ago today, working from home was almost just for the privileged few, not the many. And now that's exactly widespread now, hybrid working we're at now. And if we go back further with the arrival of mobile and the internet, and I read a great stat before you came on the podcast today that I think since the year 2000, 52% of the Fortune 500 companies have disappeared. So we know that adapting to technological change is so important, and the role of the C-suite is equally crucial for driving technological advancement. So can you tell me a bit more about that importance of securing top-tier talent for these roles, and how at Riverbed do you approach this challenge? Because it's a very real challenge, and the costs of not accepting that challenge are incredibly high, aren't they?
Yeah, it's really a I think kind of a two-part answer for you. The first is what's happening, with big organizations out there. And as you rightly said, 52% of the Fortune 500 is gone pretty much since the start of the commercial internet that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And, all the C-suite and board people saw that. They watched that movie. And, if you're the CEO, the first thing you hear from your board is, hey, don't let that happen to us this time. What are you doing? What is your strategy around AI? How are you not going to be disrupted like what happened with the internet? How can you become a leader out of that? And that's really what happened last time around. The 52% are gone, as you know. But then we had companies who took advantage of the new technology who are bigger and better and more successful than ever. If you think of companies like Walmart or UPS, they pivoted and leveraged the internet, and they're doing better than ever before. And then you had a whole bunch of new companies who grew up from nothing, right? You think Google and others who, that technology enabled them to exist. And I think AI will play out in a very similar fashion, right? We're going to have the smart companies pivot and become better, more successful than ever. The ones who just can't do well at technology are going to be in trouble because someone will come along and do a better job using the new technology with them. And I don't think we're at this phase yet with AI, but eventually we'll get a couple new large companies that'll come, who are just born to do it. So I think that's what's happening on the business side. From our side, you say, well, how do you attract talent? And we're very fortunate. We have a lot of great technical talent in the company. And I think it's all about with engineers, and I manage engineers for many decades now, having them work on, interesting work that, the words of Hewlett and Packard, that makes a contribution. And what I mean by make a contribution is, moving moving our industry forward, helping customers solve problems they couldn't otherwise solve on their own, providing new solutions that allow new things to happen. And, personally, that's one of the things I'm very proud of my career is that literally every day you touch something I made. You might not know it because, it's infrastructure, it's in the background. You won't see it. You won't know that. But, a little part of the world works every day because of something, that me and my teams I work with enabled. And that attracts people. It's very exciting to bring new things out to life and help, see the excitement of customers when you enable them to do something they couldn't otherwise do or help them solve really critical problems. And at Riverbed, we really do both those things. A customer told me the other day, he said, you really take a lot of my pain away. And by doing that, you also save me money in the process. So then I can go invest in other things as well. And the pain meant dealing with issues, that we were talking about before, where, the colleagues can't access their applications. Colleagues can't get work done. People are upset. We solve those problems for people and it makes their life better. So I'm proud to do that.
And another topic that we're hearing more about is AI frequently being on the boardroom agenda. There's a lot of talk and debates around the need for a chief AI officer at the moment. But I'm curious, from everything that you're seeing and hearing, what are the most common concerns or topics of conversation that you're encountering with your customers and clients? And how are you at Riverbed addressing some of these discussions too? Because I imagine you've got the ear of a lot of big businesses right now.
Yeah, what happens is, AI ultimately comes back to data, right? Good data equals good AI. Bad data, bad AI. And if you, have seen what's happened in the marketplace, there's been examples of both of those. On the bad data front, you hear about AI hallucinations. Yeah. In essence, that is bad data leads to like a laughable result from artificial intelligence. And people are like, oh, how can I trust this? This is so bad. So being able to accumulate enough data to run good, algorithms against, being able to secure that data, making sure that, many customers obviously don't want to mix their data or make their data publicly available. So how to have that data private, how to have the scale required. These are all the fundamentals that need to be in place before you can really get to good AI. And, if you look what we've been doing, and you remember my background, I was at Oracle, I was at Hewlett Packard, I was at EMC, it was all about scaling enterprise data. And what Riverbed's done very uniquely is built a data store that scales very well. And what I like to say about our approach to AI is safe, secure, and accurate. And what I mean by that is from a safe perspective, our data store uses information that's only the customer's proprietary data. So in essence, the customer's data stays private. The only thing that goes in there is what they want to go in there. So they have full control over their data. That's what also makes it secure. And because what you'll see in these big sites is they don't want to have their data turned to open source. They don't want to intermingle their very proprietary corporate data with somebody else. So they want to make sure it's safe. They can only, use the data they want to use. They want to make sure it's secure. No one else is going to get their hands on their data. And then the accuracy part comes down to, as I mentioned, good data, good AI, bad AI, is that we have the ability to collect data across your enterprise on how things are performing. So whether it's your mobile phones or an iPad or an endpoint, you see a lot of people having endpoint devices now when you go out to dinner or something. Your network itself, your applications, your cloud, we could put all that into one place. And then from there, we run our machine learning on it. And that gives us extremely accurate results on what's happening in your environment. So through that, we can prevent problems, or when we find problems, we can automate the resolution to them. In the automation, again, back to safety, is as much as the customer would like us to do. Sometimes they just want us to show them what's wrong, through the system. Sometimes they want us to go all the way through to fix it. And so I have a customer in the UK as an example. They're doing 20,000 automated fixes a month using these types of systems. So there's 20,000 problems that before someone would have to intervene with, that now automatically it's fixed. And then we just report to it. We open up a service call and we close the service call so they can see what we've done and how we did it and what transpired. So all that's really about making AI that works, that solves practical problems for people and really provides a good business value to them.
And something else that's difficult for me to believe, at least, that we're only 4 months away from life in 2025, which is something I never thought I'd hear myself say out loud. So looking forward, what do you see as the top priorities for CIOs? And again, how are you at Riverbed positioning yourself to support some of these objectives? Because I would imagine there's a lot of trending conversations there.
There certainly is. I mean, we've talked a lot about AI in this conversation, but there's an equal, if not more amount in our space, all going around digital experience that I spoke about before.
Yeah.
Is that the incessant need to provide a better experience for everybody who works in an organization, no matter where they are. And that's a big priority. How they want to get there is through simplification. So I was speaking to one customer, again, another UK-based customer, who's telling me for them to provide their digital experience, they had 56 different tools. Now, as you can imagine, with 56 different tools, that is too much to manage, very difficult. You as a customer end up trying to sew together all these disparate pieces in order to get a solution. So they found that very frustrating. So what they really are looking to do is have fewer tools, cover more of this broader environment. As we mentioned, the environment gets broader every day. So give me fewer tools that cover more of my space. So it's easier, speaking the voice of the customer, it's easier for them to manage and provide the experience they want to their end users. So that's exactly what we're doing. We announced back in May and shipped, so it's real, it's here today, the Riverbed platform. And that platform is an open platform, so it uses our data, and if the customer so desires, other people's data. And it manages across network, endpoint, cloud, and applications end user experience. And then applies the AI automation we talked about in order to, again, prevent or remediate and fix problems and report on them ultimately. So what I see for 2025 is that's going to become a bigger, a desire for customers. Again, they want simplification. The other thing they really want is they want to see an ROI. As the economies of the world, they're doing okay, but they're a little bit slower than they were a year ago. If you watch, what's happening to all the various stock markets and all these reports. And when that happens, customers get very conscious about ROI. How can I make sure I'm only investing in things that provide true value? How can I make sure my investment is getting the return I want? So we spend a lot of time working with our customers on ROI, and I think that's going to become more prevalent next year. And then as it relates to AI, in general with AI, you always hear people talk about, the trough of disillusionment. So you go through the hype cycle, then people get in this disillusionment phase of what's really happening here. And then they come out of it as new solutions start to matter. And, as you heard, what I'm proud of that what we're doing is we have AI that really works. And people have installed it and they're running it and they're doing real things with it. And you'll see more of that deployment as the years go on next year. It is, customers really want to do it, as we talked about earlier in this. Truly is a board discussion, a CEO discussion. CEOs are impatient people. They want to see progress. And you'll see more of that in 2025.
And one of the other reasons I was excited to get you on the podcast today is the fact that Unified Observability is gaining incredible traction as a vital component in IT strategies right now. And I know this is a topic close to your heart. So can you tell me a little bit more about how Riverbed's platform is enhancing that approach and also some of the specific IT challenges it helps to overcome? Because we hear a lot about the shiny technologies and the hype and the buzzwords, etc. But it's those challenges that it helps to overcome. That's where the magic happens, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest nightmare for most CIOs is something breaks. And again, we're not living in a world of perfect, so something breaks all the time. So something breaks, and the question they always get is, what's wrong and how do I fix it? And you'd hear, it's really interesting. I love spending time with customers. I talk to them all the time. And different departments within IT always talk about mean time before innocence, mean time to innocence. So they want to say, hey, I'm the network person. It's not the network. I've proven it's not me. It's somebody else. And they kind of play hot potato till they figure out where the problem is. And the challenge of that is that can take, many, many hours, sometimes, over a day to figure out what's really going on. So what they're really looking for, if you look about this unified observability, is precision. In my whole big complex world that we've been speaking about, on-prem, off-prem, cloud, applications, everything else, if something breaks, what is it? You might think that's simple. It's not as simple as you think. And so tell me what's wrong, because once I know what's actually wrong, then I can go fix it. And again, it's a gray area. It's not as black and white as people think. And that's really what our technologies do. And the whole idea behind the platform is enabling people to do that. So I'll give you a couple elements of it you might find interesting. First of all, in the highest sense, we do three things. We collect a lot of data on what's happening. We then analyze that data through machine learning and then act on it. As we talked about, we can automate fixes and things like that. And then the third thing we do is we report on it. So we tell you what we did. And, on the collection phase, because everybody's environment gets bigger and bigger and bigger, we're able to collect real data, not synthetic data, on all these different data points. So we can do it in your network. We can do it on your laptops. We can do it on your phones, collect data. And our data is just data understanding how things are working. Is it working? Is it not working? Is it fast? Is it slow? What are your problems? So, by collecting that data and then having a repository that we talked about before where all that data resides, we can very quickly understand what's broken, what action needs to be taken in an audit. So that's very, very valuable to our customers. But to do that, increasingly you need agents. And the simple thing to talk about agents, and virtually every big software product out there uses agents. Customers don't like agents because that's one more thing to manage. So on an average laptop, you can have 20 agents that they have to manage. They don't really like that. So we went to a common agent technology. So in essence, one agent can then manage all these things versus having an individual agent for your network, your application, everything else. Customers like that. Once we got past the agents, then we started developing new agent modules, as we call them. So you might have some guests on who are talking about, security. And one of the big security trends out there is zero trust environments. So zero trust environments solve a problem around security, but they create a problem around observability and figuring out what's wrong when something breaks, because the old ways of looking at networks don't work in a zero trust environment. So we're able to take our single agent technology, put a product module in there we call NPM Plus, which now looks at networks in a way very different from the past. We can look at it from the endpoint in versus from the network out. And by doing that, customers regain the visibility they lost in a zero trust environment. So in essence, we give people the best of both worlds. They can adopt zero trust for security reasons. At the same time, they can still keep observability on their network in case something goes wrong. They want to understand how to fix it. So that's an element to it. And then from there, as I mentioned, we'll have more of these types of modules that come out, ones that look at your CPU, ones that look at unified communications, all the big problems. Unified communications is a new problem people face a lot if you're talking about 2025. Just like, we're on video right now. Unified communications to me is typically the CEO's on a video call, the video goes down. Who does he call first? CIO. Yeah. What went wrong? I don't know. Those modules address that and fix those problems. So the idea is a very comprehensive platform. People can start really small or they can start really big, whatever they want to do, add, mix and match, whatever works for them, but a simplified way to solve what are becoming very increasingly complex problems for people.
And it's so important. I was reminiscing there listening to your story, and I think being in part of IT or a tech team, it often feels like that Spider-Man meme with the apps guys are saying it's not the application, it's the network, and then the network guys are pointing, it's not the network, it's the third party, and everyone's kind of pointing at each other for that first troubleshooting period, because that's the way it used to be, wasn't it? But it is getting better thanks for tools like this that we're talking about.
I hate to tell you, it hasn't really changed much because I've been on those calls for years. And again, these technologies are meant to help solve that problem for people.
Yeah.
And even, the one that you'll find surprising is, the amount of PCs is still blue screen. It's a shocking amount of people who can't access things. And again, our technology helps fix those. And, one of our UK customers is the National Health Service. And, they're talking about just missed doctor appointments because, if their PC's out, now all of a sudden someone's worried about the PC and electronic medical records, which are very important. But if you can't access it, it does you no good. So literally by using our technology to help eliminate those problems, all of a sudden now your doctors are more efficient. They can see more people. They can help with health outcomes. These are very real numbers we're able to measure with them, showing that, just by giving that better solution around observability and being able to identify the problem faster, more patients can be seen. And, that's important to everybody. So that just gives you an example of how important this stuff really is.
And before you came on the podcast, I was doing a little research. Something else I was reading about is the Riverbed acceleration portfolio and how that promises agile, secure acceleration of applications over any network, which feels like a big game changer too. So just to bring that to life, though, can you share, I don't know, a case study or use case or an example where this has significantly impacted a client's operations? You don't have to name any names, but is there any stories that spring to mind?
Yeah. So, it's very interesting is, as we talked about, everything always comes back to data.
Yeah.
Right. And the big thing about acceleration is many times customers cannot move the amount of data they want to move at the speed they want to move it in order to either feed applications, even AI, for instance. AI requires a ton of data, as we talked about before, and you need to move it very quickly. And so that's what our acceleration products do. And we've seen that, with companies like Keysight Technologies, an example. They had a big challenge moving data fast enough. They were able to increase their speeds by over 25% just by adding this technology in. We see this at a number of both new technologies, meaning, newer written software, as well as even legacy software, that even some legacy software, you could put a fat network pipe around it, but without acceleration added to it, you won't see the speed that you're looking to see. So the marketplace itself we're seeing a very strong resurgence in it. And again, I think just driven by the amount of data people are now moving, either, again, new types of applications or some of the more legacy type applications. And for as big as networks get, they're never big enough. And that's what we see with acceleration. And it's a business that we've been in for many, many years. We've been the Gartner leader, for over a decade. And coupling the acceleration piece with what we've talked about, observability, gives us the ability to not only understand what's broken, as we've been talking about, how do you break it, how do you remediate it, but we can also speed things up in the process. So we can use that knowledge to figure out how do we apply more speed and make your environment run better.
And as you said, sometimes things are never big enough. And I think implementing AI that works and ultimately scales is a significant challenge for many organizations too. So anything you can share around the kind of strategies that you employ to ensure that scalability and effectiveness of your AI-driven solutions? Because I suspect that's something that people are asking for your help with a lot too.
Yeah, it's really important. Think about endpoints for a second. It's not uncommon for many organizations to have 500,000 or more. If you think about how many desktops are in an organization, how many laptops, how many PCs. So in a single instance, our technology scales up to over 800,000 endpoints per instance. So that's large enough to handle the largest organizations in the world. And, we're very proud that we have many, many large organizations out there running our products at scale, which I think is critical. On the AI front, we have built a very unique, patent pending data store, as I mentioned. And the data store uniquely can scale with very large amounts of data from all these different points in a very efficient manner. I don't want to give too much away, but I'll just say it's extremely efficient. We designed it to be that way. And I think that solves one of the major barriers people see about AI. You might have had some of their folks on the podcast, back in the day, talking about things like Hadoop clusters and, data warehouses and all these things. And what you found is Hadoop, although it had a lot of promise, you don't see a lot of people actually really running it in production anywhere, at scale. And the reason why it's because it's really hard. It's hard to build these large data stores. You have to have the right data sources. The data has to be, usable in different formats. There's all kinds of things that go into it. Yeah, I can bore you to death with all the details. I mean, it gets kind of boring, but it's technically extremely important to really make this stuff real. And I still believe that's going to be a big barrier for AI adoption in enterprises, is just getting the data right. So we solved that problem for our customers. It's already solved. We're in our second generation. They can use that. And again, it works with their data. At the same time, we can, if they want third-party data injected to it, their choice, we can do that as well. So it's an open, scalable data store, which I think is really critical going forward.
And I'm curious, if I look at Riverbed solutions and strategies, what do you foresee as the next big challenge or the next big opportunity when you're looking across that tech landscape? And how are you preparing to meet it? Is there anything that's caught your interest, excitement, or keeps you up at night?
Well, I'm very excited about what we're doing. I mean, I think that's why I was so excited to join Riverbed is, again, a lot of very smart engineers who've thought it through. I've spent my career in products. Again, I've very high market share products. I had the number one server share products, the number one storage share products, number two in networking were all ones I developed. So I'm very much a product person. And when I saw what they're doing around the data store, when I saw what they're doing around the platform, I was like, this is really good. And, and to their credit, before I arrived, and I wanted to be a part of it. And since I've been there, we've invested more heavily in R&D. And it's all about bringing this technology out to market faster, and which we've done. We've shipped a record amount of products this year. We have a whole bunch more coming next year. So we're excited every day because we see how important this challenge is for our customers. And we think, we in our segment of the market, so again, it's a large tech market out there, but in our segment of the market, which is, around the end user experience, we think we've built a very unique solution that solves problems that no one else has.
Well, I'm very conscious today. We've talked about so much about AI, where we're going, the future. But as we reach the end of our conversation, I'd love to almost ask you to look back at your career, because there is, I think it's very difficult for any of us to achieve any degree of success without a little help along the way. And sometimes it can be someone that sees something in us, invests a little time in us. Is there anybody like that that's impacted you throughout your career that we can maybe give a little recognition and a shout out to today?
Yeah, lots. I named two in particular. I started at EMC right out of college.
Yeah.
And the founder of EMC, the E, if you will, is a gentleman by the name of Dick Egan. Dick, unfortunately, has passed away, but I think Dick never got the credit he deserved. He was a true industry legend who had really the foresight of what storage could mean. And again, storage might not be something that people touch every day, but storage is what enabled the internet. It's what enabled the cloud. It's, again, getting all this data in one place. You had to overcome a lot of technical barriers, and that's what EMC specialized in. So I joined there as employee 129. And I learned so much from Dick. He just knew so much about technology and business and how to scale a business. And I think for the people listening out there, he was the most customer-centric person I ever met. He gave everybody his home phone number. Extension 1000 of the company was his home. Anybody could pick it up and call him. And if a customer had a problem, he wanted to know and he wanted to fix it. And I learned so much from that. And he's the one who gave me my start. Coupled with that, he was also a very interesting entrepreneur in that he, as he likes to say, he kicked himself upstairs to become a board member and hired a CEO to replace him named Mike Ruckers. And most folks wouldn't do that, but he did it on his own. And Mike really gave me the experience of a general manager. He enabled me running software engineering, hardware engineering, supply chain, manufacturing, customer service, quality, and mergers and acquisitions. So he put me in all these jobs over the years so I could learn all aspects of how the business ran. And, that was really an education that I'm so grateful for because I use it every day. I use it every day at Riverbed, everything I learned through that. And both those gentlemen impacted me when I was in my 20s. I started at age 22. Mike was my boss by age 25. And, so between Dick and Mike, they really helped launch my own personal career. And I try and return the favor to younger folks who work for me over the years.
Oh, what a beautiful story. I think it's so important to recognize this. And I suspect that Dick and Mike, if they were to go back in time, they wouldn't automatically understand the impact they had on you and your career, and also the impact of how you're now spreading it on and sharing everything that you've learned. So it goes on. And I think it's so important to share that. And looking forward, there'll be a lot of people listening, maybe inspired by our conversation. Maybe we've awoken their curiosity. They want to find out more information. So where's the best place for them to find you or your team online or find more about anything we talked about today?
Well, two places, riverbed.com. And on there, you'll see whole explanations of all these products we spoke about and some customer stories so they can get to know those better if they like. And then also on LinkedIn, you'll find most of us out there on LinkedIn. I think those are the two best places to find us.
Fantastic. Well, love chatting with you today. We covered a lot there, from the importance of attracting top talent in the C-suite, common boardroom conversations about AI, the CIO priorities, and also Unified Observability's role in addressing IT challenges to deliver that excellent digital experience that people almost take for granted and they expect it as standard now. But more than anything, just thank you for sharing that with me today.
It's been a pleasure.
As Dave highlighted today, the future of business technology hinges on embracing AI, university observability, and delivering a seamless digital experience. And these elements are no longer optional or nice to haves. They're essential for maintaining a competitive edge. And I think the insights Dave shared about the new Riverbed platform, with that cutting-edge approach to solving visibility gaps and enhancing user interactions, I think they all offer a glimpse into this next wave of technological advancements. But if you're interested in exploring these solutions further or connecting with Dave and his team, I encourage you to visit Riverbed's online resources. But over to you. How are you going to integrate these strategies to propel your organisation forward and optimise every aspect of your digital operation? That's what we're talking about here. You've heard from myself. You've heard from today's guest. Over to you. Email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. But that's it for today's episode. So just a big thank you for listening as always. And until next time, don't be a stranger.